I stood facing Veldanava. It was a one-on-one situation. I wasn't particularly enthusiastic about it, but this was the crucial moment where I had to give it my all. Well now, if you insist on destroying the world no matter what, I'll have to stop you with everything I've got. When I declared this, Veldanava gave a faint smile. To think a life form I created has come to defy its creator's will so clearly. I am deeply moved. Perhaps you really might be able to achieve God's slaying. I don't actually plan on killing you, though. You're Milim's father, and there are those who still look up to you. I'm just going to beat you up until you come to your senses and wake up. Hahaha, interesting. If you fail, the world simply ends, so feel free to try without hesitation. Then, I'll take you up on that offer. I drew my sword and slashed at Veldanava. The Drago blade that Kurb forged for me was ore, so I remembered a straight sword characterized by its black blade, but its appearance had changed. Even without channeling magic into it, a rainbow-colored temper line shone beautifully along the black blade. Since I had slashed using an II-style draw, I only just noticed it now upon seeing it. I was surprised, but the real shock came next. Veldanava, looking composed, moved to block it with a sword, materialized from his own aura, or so I thought. But the moment he did, his sword was sliced apart as easily as butter. It was the moment my Drago blade demonstrated its absurd sharpness. Unfortunately, Veldanava reacted instantly, using teleportation to evade faster than my sword could cut him. I didn't expect it to end there, so I just thought, well, figures. However, the magnificent power of my sword was good news. It's been a long time since I was genuinely surprised. That sword, even though I didn't create it, it possesses power equivalent to the Genesis class. Genesis class. Well, I don't know much about that, but there's no doubt it's an amazing sword. My proud companion forged it for me. It's like a part of my own soul. It didn't feel bad to be praised, so I answered honestly. Kurb would surely be delighted if he heard that he was praised by Veldanava. The Genesis class isn't something that can be created by mortal hands, but I suppose there is no point in arguing that now. After all, what you hold is the genuine article. Veldanava spoke with a self-deprecating tone. Apart from matters concerning Lucia, it seemed he wasn't surprisingly stubborn. Veldanava quietly brought his hands together. To counter your blade, I shall use my own sword as well. Meaning his actual beloved sword, not just materialized ore. I had no obligation to wait for him, but since bringing Veldanava back to his senses was the best option, I decided to quietly watch and let him do it. Fighting fair and square isn't really my style, and I knew it was a bad move if I wanted to win, but honestly, I also wanted to wait for Guy and the others to arrive as backup. All things considered, I figured I could at least give him time to equip his weapon. As I watched him with these thoughts in mind, a glimmer of light appeared between Veldanava's hands. Return of the Divine Blade. As Veldanava whispered the words, a single sword appeared as if in response to his voice. A sparkling, bubble-like radiance adorned the blade. It reminded me of Ramyun soda. It was a mysterious sword where bubbles seemed to rise to the surface of the blade, pop, and vanish. Sorry to keep you waiting. This sword is named Memory. It is the 8th Genesis class weapon I created after my resurrection. Every event that has occurred across the vast 3,000 worlds, including this cardinal world, is etched into this sword as a vivid record. Hearing that, I almost retorted, is that the Akashic records? I didn't say it out loud because I realized that was probably exactly the case. Besides, I sensed that we no longer had the luxury for such banter. Veldanava's sword, Memory, was radiating an intimidating pressure that rivaled a true dragon. This won't break my sword, will it? It should be fine. Well, good then. After all, a broken sword is proof of immature skill. That was a lecture I'd heard from Hakiru during training until I was sick of it. Losing one's weapon on the battlefield means certain death. To prevent that, one must be careful not only with daily maintenance, but also with how one handles the weapon. Protect the blade with aura constantly to avoid putting strain on the weapon, there. So, what is the name of your sword? My sword's name. I call it the Drago blade, but that's true, that isn't really a name. Right. Since I have the chance. This sword's name is Elpis. I gave the sword a name and declared it. At that moment, I felt a slight wave of fatigue wash over me, but I recovered instantly, so perhaps it was just my imagination. Your physical condition is perfect. I do not believe there is a problem. Right. It felt similar to the fatigue of naming a monster, but naming a sword shouldn't have that kind of effect. Seal-san said there was no problem, so I probably just imagined it. Anyway, my sword's name was now Elpis. The hope that the world won't end, or rather, a hope that included my own greed and desire that everything would work out. I'm a greedy person, after all. I imbued the name Elpis with a lot of different meanings. Elpis is it? That's a good name. Why, thank you. When I responded, Veldanava chuckled lightly. Then, his eyes narrowed as he spoke. Well then, let us begin. Let us test just how far you can keep up with the providence ordained by God. Those words were the signal. What began was a dance of swords. The clash of blades between Veldanava and me created a space of severance that sliced through anything it touched in the vicinity. Retreat. Retreat. Don't get close. You'll die. No one was optimistic enough to think, Luminous will revive me even if I die. Everyone put distance between themselves and us, protecting their own lives. I thought that was for the best. Even Benimaru had backed away slightly. If a normal person, though everyone here was hero class, got caught up in this, the only possible outcome would be instant death. In this field of death occupied only by the two of us, where no other could intervene, I poured all my will into my blade, a blade capable of slicing through even our barriers in a single strike and cross swords with Veldanava. Ivarage, swallowed by a maelstrom of chaotic emotions, swayed unsteadily as it stood up. He took a stance, alert and letting down no guard. Those acknowledged by themselves and others as the apex of this world had unleashed their proudest, greatest, and strongest attacks. It was a wonder that Ivarage was even alive after taking a direct hit. And yet, the fact that it was still standing with such composure was terrifying. But there was no time to dwell on that. Kai ha 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 ha. Ivarage released light in all directions. At first glance, it looked like a desperate flailing attack. However, it was not. It was a destructive ray of light, powerful beyond comparison to anything before. As proof, the outer walls of the ground floor section of the Heavenward Tower were crumbling away. Although part of the reason was likely the abnormality caused to the indestructible attribute by Guy's catastrophe eclipse, the impact was enough to overturn common sense, and struck terror into the hearts of those who witnessed it. Several ground-level floors of the Heavenward Tower had vanished. Since the upper section was connected to the heavens, it now appeared to be hanging from the sky. Looking up blankly at the Heavenward Tower were the giants who lived there. They looked up at the sky with minds that could not, and did not want to, believe it. Guy and the others had no time for that. Having been bathed in Ivarage's destructive light, which possessed enough power to crumble the Heavenward Tower, they couldn't afford to be stunned. Or rather, more than stunned, the mood was savage. You bastard, take this more seriously. We are doing our best, are we not? Guy yelled at Veldora. Veldora was excellent at offense, but defense was not his forte. Since he possessed a tough body that most attacks couldn't affect, he never needed to worry about defense in the first place. Thus, Veldora tried to claim he was trying his best, but... Veldora-chan, do you intend to defy Guy? Elder sister, aren't you playing favors a bit too? Is there some kind of problem? No, nothing. He was interrupted by Velsard and fell silent. As if to say no younger brother can defy his elder sister, a sorrowful power dynamic was firmly in place. Incidentally, Velgrin had quickly given up, released her parallel existence, and merged back with her main body. Her skillful maneuvering was magnificent enough to be in a textbook. Perhaps for Veldora, getting away without being scolded by his two sisters was a small mercy. Still, Veldora certainly looked pitiable. Troubled, Veldora decided to shift the direction of the attack. Setting me aside, isn't Milim holding back her true strength? He shelved his own issues and tried to point the spear at Milim. Milim retorted. What are you saying? I am always at full power. What are you saying? Back when I was trying to stop you, you were much more berserk and intense. Well, that was a fact. I'm not holding back, you know. Milim insisted as if the accusation was outrageous, but as Veldora said, compared to when she was in her stampede state, she was undeniably lacking in power. That's because Milim isn't using Wrathful King Satinel. Guy pointed out. Mew. Milim was shaken and looked away. During her rampage, she had lost her reason and let Wrathful King Satinel run at full capacity in her rage. However, now that she was calm, she didn't feel like casually using a power that could destroy the world. Besides, that power is too dangerous. Even I might not be able to control it. Hearing that, Veldora looked troubled too. It would be like poking a bush and snake coming out. If Milim started rampaging again, it would be a disaster. That would be trouble, Veldora thought. However, Guy's thinking was different. He believed that Milim could control her own authority. When Guy replicated Milim's Wrathful King Satinel with his own prideful King Lucifer, he had to keep the output at around 40% to operate it safely at all times. This was because Milim's Wrathful King Satinel was simply too powerful. Now, with the ultimate skill Abyssal God Nodens, he could safely operate up to 90%. But if it's Milim, don't be scared, just do it. If you rampage again, we'll stop you. Control the authority born of your own desire with your own will. Guy was expecting that much of Milim. Milim wasn't so dense that she couldn't sense this trust. She still feared going out of control, and there was intense conflict in her heart, but she roused herself, deciding this was the time to try hard. Alright, I understand. I'll do my best not to lose control, but if I fail, I'm leaving it to you. Milim steeled her resolve and activated Wrathful King Sentinel once more. Milim, who already possessed a vast amount of magical energy, saw her power increase drastically. Watching this, Veldanava thought, if she goes berserk, I'm going to have a terrible time again. These words "we will stop you" naturally include me. And above all, if Milim rampages again, Rimuru is going to get super mad at me. It wasn't that he was the only one at fault. In fact, Veldanava shouldn't have any responsibility in this. Yet, he saw a future where all responsibility was pushed onto him. Still, he wasn't foolish enough to say that out loud. Velzard was here, so he understood there was no way his complaints would be heard. To think I've even acquired future sight. Even as he tried to act tough, Veldanava couldn't wipe away his sorrowful mood. With that, he and the others reorganized their formation. Velgrind had dropped out, but the four strongest remained here. Milim's power was increasing, and the battle was just getting started. Velzard, Milim, and Veldanava psyched themselves up again. However, Ivarage's behavior was strange. It was staring motionlessly toward the other side of the crumbled wall of the heavenward tower. For Guy and the others, it was lucky that no follow-up attack came, but now it seemed eerie. What is that guy looking at? Guy followed Ivarage's gaze. There, having descended from the sky to the ground, was Veldanava. Regardless of friend or foe identification, he was completely ignoring the holy field. Dealing with this Veldanava was Rimuru, engaging in a fierce battle so intense it seemed to push away anyone nearby. Half. My other half. Murmuring this, Ivarage floated gently into the air. Immediately after, it began to fly. Are we not even in her eyes? Seems so. She's underestimating us. Humiliating. I'll smash my anger into her. Indeed. If we get in Rimuru's way, he'll make snide comments, so let's quickly chase and stop her. And so, Guy and the others also began to move, chasing after Ivarage.